like bad acting. Here, all right, let's restart. So on go, ready?
Okay.
All right, one,
Yes.
two, three, 3, 2, 1, go. But yeah, something I was gonna add to that. But I wanted to make sure we restarted because I felt like I was gonna start yapping again. It's like we start on. Yeah, check yourself before you wreck yourself. But from like the interactions I've had with Simply, I will say like he's someone that I feel like hasn't gotten lost in the sauce in the sense of like it's really cool that he still is attending Pace and he's been like very cool about like I remember when I met Simply, he walked up to me and he called me Shunk because my friend DM'd him on Twitter and said, "Can you call Sarah Shunk? I think it'd be funny." And then I showed up in his chat like after and he went, "Yo, is that Shunk?" And it's like, I don't know, I think he's very aware of his roots and really like humble and like gives back, I guess, in that way
Yes.
to it. It's not like he forgot where he came from. Similar to Squeaks in a massive way.
With Simply, I can talk a lot about him because I have watched him throughout all of it, or most of it. You know, not right from the very beginning of him streaming and speedrunning, but like all of his growth, I guess. Because
Right.
like he used to speedrun a whole bunch, and then like he got really bad like tendonitis and couldn't run at all.
Oh yeah.
And he also went to school in New Zealand for like a year.
Oh, I
So there
didn't
was
know
also that detour. But the idea was that like he had hand issues and then couldn't run the game because it hurt his hands. So then he got into commentary and started running
that. Full
tournaments
time.
because he still wanted to be involved in the community, but
Yeah.
he couldn't like play the game. So he started running tournaments and still on YouTube. His commentary is a lot worse, but you can see like the sense of humor he has. Like,
Right.
that's never changed. And as that went on, like he kept doing tournaments, he kept getting better at commentary.
It's really cool
And,
seeing that evolution.
and then now he's like that's the entire reason like Mizkif even like clicked with him in the first place.
Right.
Was because he was very good at commentary, and then he also by that point was playing the game again. But
Oh, yeah,
like,
true.
years of like building up, I guess.
To
where
that point.
It's like, yeah, it was obviously luck that he got there, but it
Yeah.
was years of being passionate about this game. And,
Yeah.
still wanting to be involved and working on his commentary skills just for his own tournaments. And it ended up being, now he's this
Ended up paying off.
gigantic streamer.
Yeah, 100%. And like probably the biggest 64 like runner at this point in viewership for sure, right? Like someone who's just like mainly playing. But like
It's very cool to see that, and I don't feel like he could ever lose his roots because of that. Like he's built so much and is so passionate about the community.
100%.
Yeah, I'm not just trying to sit here and suck him off. It's,
Yeah.
like he is a good friend of mine.
Right.
Watching him grow to his size has been very rewarding to watch, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I was gonna say like I think a lot of people will sometimes like say, oh yeah, the only way to get big is luck. And of course, like you just said, there's like a huge component that has to do with luck, right? Like, yeah, what if, Mizkif didn't start running Mario right at that point where like, Simply had finally like curated like the way he did his comms and like it evolved to where it was that like that happened to be where their paths crossed, right? But also, I think what people neglect there is they expect. I was actually talking to Squimmy about this morning too, because I saw some tweet of someone going like, "I've been streaming for 6 years, and it's hard not to compare myself to others and be upset." And I was like, "Well, that's stupid, because it doesn't matter like how long you're doing something, right? You're not owed anything. What you're owed is like the effort you put in." And the talent you have. And no one boots up their stream to 1 million viewers unless you're like Mr. Beast playing Among Us in 2020. Like it just doesn't happen where you immediately start streaming and have people like, I had someone recently when I was streaming Iron Mario come in and say, "Hey, I just did my first stream and I only had 1 viewer." And I was like, damn bitch, me too. Like when I first started, I played Skyward Sword and my only viewers were bots. And I didn't know that at the time, and I like put little mod notes for all of my first viewers in my brain, which were Commander Root and his friends. And I went first attender of the first stream, right? Like that's how everyone starts, and the difference is what you make out of it. Like the amount of people that get their first, little bit in their first like month or two, and then they go, "Oh, this isn't rewarding because no one's watching me," and then leave. Damn, I had like less than 10 viewers for like 6 or 7 months into streaming, and I just knew like I want to put effort into this. I gave myself a year out of college, which I mean mind you, very lucky that I was able to do this, where I was just full-time pushing streaming. And I was like, you know what? If I can get it, cool. If I can't, I'm gonna get a job. But I would not be able to like live with myself if I hadn't, especially like that I had the privilege to do this, like that I hadn't like given it a proper shot. So I don't know. It's like if you put that effort in and you have the time to, and you're gonna, you know, see results, even if there is the luck aspect that's not there. Like even if Mizkif had never played Mario, there's a chance that some like Ludwig would have, you know, and like that's something else would have happened that would have like been luck. But there's also like luck can get you so far, because no one is going to get attracted to a stream if there's nothing there. And like obviously by this point it sounds like, even though like at first you were saying like his like comms were kind of like rocky because he was like just starting out, he had the like humor, but like he was just like, you know, he had to build up like to the point that he is now with comms, which I do think he's like very, very strong comms, probably one of the best. And then, you know, that talent is kind of what got recognized by Mizkif, and then, you know, the rest is history. And there's people like Squeaks, who was just doing like a one-man show for like 5 hours and doing that. I remember when I met him to 200 viewers, and then Ludwig found him and people were like, yeah, well, you know, Ludwig is the only reason. It's like, no, he was destined to be where he is, you know? And it's like, he did that for like, what, a long time. He did like CSGO to no one for a while, from what I've heard. And then suddenly, like, he blew up. And it's not like an accident. Like, it's not like, you know, Ludwig, like, tripped and fell on the raid button one day. It's like he was entirely deserving of the praise he got from him, like, on his, like, podcast and stuff. And then now he's where he's at. And, yeah, I always find it interesting when people say, like, oh, it's only luck-based. Because, like, what you said is a perfect example of how it isn't. Like, there's so many varying factors, and most of it relies in you need to be talented in some way, even if it's not like gameplay. You need to be engaging, you need to be entertaining. There's always like a different pull, I guess, for each kind of like creator, especially within speedrunning. Yo, Brad, by the way, I remember when I first met JJ from Sunshine, we had a really, really interesting convo when I first met, like the day I met him. Like I had followed him from like 2018 for Sunshine. But then like the first time I was on a call with him, we had this conversation about how there's like two different kinds of creators within speedrunning. There's like the kind that are just like world record grind. And then there's, you know, like whatever streaming thing they're doing is secondary. There's the second people who are like entertainment focused and speedrunning is secondary. And then there's people who master both. And I would say like Simply and Squeaks both. Because I mean, people don't realize who like are just casual watchers. Like Squeaks is cracked. Like 49 capable, like that is insane for the yapping he does. And
you don't just walk into a 49.
Exactly, like there's a lot of intentional effort. And like anytime I've gone in Squeaks chat, he will find my name in that like sea of 5,000 people too. Like he's very, very like grateful to the Mario community, and I barely knew him before he like popped off. And he'll be like, Sarah, oh my god, I lost my like 49 run to like this or whatever. And like there's still so much care there. And I think like to succeed within the speedrunning community, like a huge part of it content wise is people who are cracked at the game and are also entertaining as shit. Like those people soar. And I mean, another one I would say is Squimmy.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally not biased, but like,
I mean, he has been on the come up. I've been watching it.
Oh yeah, it's been really cool. Like he's one of, if not like my best friend, and he's like very, it's been very cool knowing him from pre-affiliate, or like when he had affiliate to now, and like talking to him about it all the time and like watching his like rise. It's very, very cool. And I'm like also feel pretty lucky in the sense of like I've never, like I didn't meet him when he was at this size. Like I met him when he was like 60 viewers. And so it's cool that like I don't have like this like, oh my god, that's the Squimmy, you know? It's just like, oh yeah, hey guy. Hey guy that I've known forever. So it's very cool. And it's also obviously like a very like, you're very proud of your friends when you see them like also becoming one of those people. But like, yeah, I mean, even if I didn't know Squimmy, I would say that in the sense of like, he's definitely like someone who's kind of like mastered both as well.
Yeah, you definitely need to have at least like a lot of the cases, it just, as long as you're funny or like are engaging in some way,
Yeah, as long as you're
you have a pretty
people
good
person.
chance.
100%, yeah.
And like that, that sucks for some people because we're just
Yes.
not.
They're just not, and
you
it
know,
is what it is. But they're cracked, so sometimes they'll still pull viewership. But yeah, like, I guess, like, to bring up Squimmy and Simply both again, like, that's, like, some of the top 10 of, like, the streamers in the category. Like, if you click on Mario, there's a chance you're seeing one of them as, like, the top name. And that's not on accident. Cheese is another one, too, for sure. That, like,
Oh, yeah.
is pretty good at both.
He's stayed, relevant, I guess, to put it that way.
Yeah.
For a long time for a reason.
Yeah, it's definitely like not because, oh, he's so lucky he got the name Cheese. It's a single word. Like, that's why everyone watches him. It's like, no, because he's funny and he's engaging and like he's gonna call you like a B word, either bitch or babe, when you go in there. And it's like, it's fun. It's fun to be there. It's a unique experience being in there. In the same way like any of those other streams we're talking about are. It's just cool. Also, I just want to say, like, side note, obviously, like, this wasn't really a convo that we, like, planned, but it's, like, it's actually really fun because it's something I'm surprised, like, hasn't come up sooner. It's, like, talking more about, like, the content side of things on this podcast. So it's one of my favorite things to yap about offline is, like, how this shit works.
I wish I talked about it more.
Yeah, it is so fun to talk about.
It's super interesting because, I think about it in terms of Twitch and YouTube because I've thought about both and worked on both, I guess.
Right.
Good way to put it. And it's very like different aspects because like not like I don't know, Ludwig has it locked down and I'm just gonna use him as the jumping point right now. Because like a long time ago he made that like how to make it as a content creator and he was like,
I watched that video before I started streaming it.
I've watched it several times.
Yeah,
it's a good video.
I have a
because
note.
Generally, his advice is just make the content on stream.
Yeah, 100%.
It's obvious, but you need to do it right.
Mm-hmm.
And people like will do like a stream and they're like, hey, let's do like if it was just like the 2v10, and that was really just like yeah, you could just do a stream of that, but can you frame it into a good YouTube video?
Yeah, like how do you kill two birds with one stone? I think someone that I know that like does that pretty well is Emerald as well, who like, and he's a huge like little lead bud. He has like the little mogul like moves t-shirts, and it's like, and I know he's like seen those videos, and it's like Ludwig, someone he looks up to as well, and it's kind of cool. I think it's a good and bad thing because sometimes you'll see like these people where you're like, oh yeah, you definitely watched the video. Like I did too, right? And I had like the note at like in my notes app from like January 2021, I have the list of like 5 creators who I think were cool because he had the idea of like, write 5 creators and then do the yoink and twist. And dude, I sounded like a Mizkif Ludwig hybrid clone like my first 6 months streaming. Like I would be like, mods? I still say bad mom when like I like do the bad mom star. I would like be like, boys, like I was awful. And I think it's cool finding your voice, I think, streaming too and watching people do that. But I think there's really cool things that have been like inspired by like Emerald's like YouTube stuff is really cool too. Like seeing like the inspo between that, like going into like, coming from like stuff like that Ludwig video, or even Formframe has been really cool to watch like him like enter the community and have like a lot of really interesting ideas. Like his Fortnite stream he did with Cheese is probably one of my favorite streams I've seen this year. Like it was so funny. It felt like Connor Eats Pants kind of like vibe. Very, very good. And I think like there's a lot of really strong content creators coming from that advice, but I think also a lot of people go, oh yeah, that's Ludwig my goat, I'm gonna just be him. And then click go live and just like obviously you learn your voice and your footing within the streaming community at some point, but it is always like a little cringe where you can tell this is a Ludwig viewer who is like, fuck it, I'll try it too, I'll make some money.
Yeah, because I think that a lot of people just are like, oh yeah, that works, so I should just do that.
Yeah.
Like, the important thing is like every stream is a different person, right? I'm not Ludwig.
Yeah, exactly.
So if I sit here and go, boys, today, the plan is simple. Like, I'm not gonna get 20K viewers or whatever.
Exactly.
No one cares if I say those words.
Yeah, it's like
like what makes me unique and worth watching.
Yes, exactly. Because it's like, yeah, people don't like Ludwig because he says boys. People like Ludwig because he's like Ludwig, and I don't mean that in a glazing way, but in a way of like Ludwig has become a like brand of streaming. Like, oh yeah, it's like a Ludwig kind of guy. Like even what I just said, like where I was like, yeah, there's so many like Ludwig clones, but it's like, yeah, because that's become a genre because he's created it to be one. And
Yep.
I think that's what's really cool about it. And that's what makes him unique and worth watching is he's created a new form of streaming. I mean, like, I don't know, because like I really wasn't as involved until around like 2020 and 2021, like when it came to watching bigger streamers. But I feel like subathons really, really, really popped off the moment he did one. And he kind of changed the game for him. And it's like being the trendsetter, that's huge. That's why people want to watch him, not because he's quirked up Ludwig. Well, I mean, yeah, but you know, it's because it's him doing it, not like if you say those same words, it's not the same. But if you do your own thing, that's why people want to watch you for sure.
It's such a weird thing to be like to figure out, right? Because like, you know, like we said, we both watched this video, and
Yeah.
like it's hard to like pick the advice from the video to like follow, if that makes sense. Okay, that's fine. At least I won the race this time.
Yay.
But it's hard to like know how to follow the advice properly because like, you know, when you do have basically 0 viewers, how do you get
What do you do? Yeah. How do you build from there?
You know, it doesn't matter if you have the best content ever. How do you even get the original viewers to watch
Yeah,
it?
you need to find the first person. I remember it took me a while to like even have my first viewer. Like I was streaming Mario Golf, Skyward Sword, Mario Kart, whatever, to like 0 people. And then one day, like the Wi-Fi on my Switch wasn't working. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go on GeoGuessr. And then I started getting people. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I like made my Twitch name, or like, sorry, my GeoGuessr name, like my Twitch name. And then people would find me from there. And if like I beat them in a game, they'd be like, oh my God, what the hell? And that's how I found my first people. And it's like, Ludwig didn't tell me that. Like I had to fuck around and find out. And that's what a lot of streaming is fucking around and finding out.
Yeah, you just gotta figure out what works.
Yeah,
You know,
100%.
it's just small things like that, and it's like, okay, yeah, that's how to get like your first couple viewers, and maybe that's all it takes. You just get like the first few viewers, and then
You
and then
like
just
slowly
snowballs from there.
snowball. Yeah, exactly. But it's really interesting too, like how many people take that like first little area for granted too. Especially like if you start and you don't know anyone in streaming and you just go for it, like it is such a different experience. And like I've seen a lot of people before, like they become a regular viewer of someone and then they start streaming themselves, and then people go, oh my God, that person from that community, and then they'll like immediately get affiliate, right? And then they'll go, oh, affiliate, that's easy, I did that in a week. And it's like, yeah, well, now try it without that initial like boost, you know? Because I do think like that area is like so character building, like just learning to talk to yourself in a chat, like is a lot. And it's not easy to get one viewer when you first start, because you're going from 0 to 100, literally going from 0 to 1 viewer. And it is hard, and it's a thing to be proud of if you've ever streamed and you've had a viewer, because it's like, that's just not easy. There's so many people live on Twitch at any given moment, and someone chose your stream. That's awesome. And it takes a lot of people a lot of time to figure out. Like, I know people who it took them months to get affiliate. It took me, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, which I felt lucky about, considering that like I didn't come from like a prior community or anything. I just showed up and went, please, please watch me. I'm begging. But yeah, it is definitely like a really interesting part of this.
And it feels like a lot of the time that's just a completely different step, you know, where it's like you
Cookie
can't
plums.
necessarily do like the quote unquote Ludwig step,
Yeah.
Ludwig step, for that first set, because they don't know you yet. You want to be, you know, for a lot of people, it ends up being like, oh yeah, you probably want to be maybe slightly more personal and like talk to a lot
Right.
more about like exactly like, you know, how I think most people stream nowadays, where it's like, oh hey, like how are you? How's your day? Blah,
Yeah,
blah. Like,
especially like in the under 500 crowd, I would say like people are watching you because they want the social interaction in comparison to someone like Hassan, because Hassan's not reading your shit, you know, unless he's like fighting you. But like,
yeah,
that's
it
definitely
just becomes a
yeah.
mob mentality where you just all spam an emote.
Yeah, kick W or whatever,
Yep.
right? And it's like, Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it is like a lot of people interact with you when you're small because you're going to read their message. And if you know that and you ace that where you just read everything and yap to people, like that's me and Squimmy both had that like experience, I guess, like first getting into streaming where people started watching us because they would always say, wow, it's really cool that you read every message. And it was like, damn, yeah. I mean, all I gotta do is read it out loud. It takes a bit to get used to doing that while speedrunning, but yeah. And like, that's a really small thing that feels like Nadoy, but like, yeah, it helps a lot. And I think like what matters, yeah, is that initial push of discoverability. And the moment you find that, you get like an audience. And the moment you get that, it feels really cool. Cause it's like, I remember when it was like I had played Pokemon Age of Arceus, I think, and I was talking about it on a stream and I was ranting. It was like one of my first Mario 64 raids I got, where I think it was Coleb. Shout out to him. He's like a ocarina runner as well. And I remember like him and all of his friends were like talking to me about the thing I was talking about, and I was like, oh my god, I'm not just yapping to no one. Like people actually care now. And that was like 6 or 7 months into streaming. You know, and like there is that moment you get with streaming where like, oh my god, people are actually listening to what I'm saying, and this effort I've put in where it feels like, oh, no one's watching is now worth it. And now I could listen to Bloodbud and his advice to like go beyond this point. Because yeah, you definitely we all start somewhere for sure.
Yeah, it's just that adjustment period where it's like, okay, how do I get the viewers in the first place? And
Yes,
it's like, okay,
which is the
how do I
hardest
keep
part.
these people long term?
Exactly. Like I would very much say that like finding your initial community is one of, if not the hardest part of streaming.
Absolutely. I mean, like, how many people, like I don't know. There's that stat where it's like a majority of streamers
Fall
like,
off
never
immediately.
get over. Yeah, they fall off immediately, and they never get more than like 2 viewers.
Exactly.
And that sucks.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like I remember pretty early on, like I always had like a pretty active Discord, which was cool because at first, like, I don't know, I was friends with I'm still friends with them. I don't know why I'm talking like they died, but like there's a girl, her name was Pay Plays 101 at the time. Now she's like Highly Pay and like the Neon Nightmare. And like I knew them from GeoGuessr. We would hang out a lot. We had 3 chatters that we all 3 would share throughout the like course of our day. And like we all like kind of became a friend group back then. It's people I still like catch up with sometimes, and like we'll play games and stuff, and we would do movie nights with all of us. And like the fact I had that at all, and that was my community for 6 or 7 months before I got into Mario. It's like I'm so insanely lucky I had enough people to do a movie night my first year. Like that's not really the existence for a lot of people, and we're kind of spoiled in the speedrunning community because it seems really common for people to start off and be like 20 viewer Andy, but that's just not the existence for people on Twitch for the most part. And Mario 64 is really like, it's really easy to be discovered within it. If you have a camera and a mic, there's a chance that someone's gonna click on you.
Yeah, I think speedrunning in general is probably one of the easier ways to like get started as a speedrunner in general, because
Right.
you like, as long as you're like actually genuinely interested in the game, I guess.
Yeah.
Or at least are around enough to like watch and whatever. People are eventually just gonna recognize your name from just being around.
Exactly. And if you do want to stream, that shit's gonna be easy as hell. Like once you're in it.
And chances are, a lot of these Mario streamers are probably checking the directory.
Yeah, like a really funny thing that happened like 2 years ago. JTuber, who's like probably my most like when people like come in here and they're like, okay, name a mod for 100. Like they'll usually mention JTuber. And I remember he started streaming and I didn't even know. And he got a raid from every single person I was friends with because people went, oh my God, JTuber from Sarah's chat? Oh my God, we have to raid him. What the hell? And it's not like he went into chats and went, yeah, I did my first ever stream today. Follow me at JTuber, and like didn't like cringe max it. Am I golding this? Almost. Anyway, but like there's recognizability. Like if you're around in the community, you're going to get found. You don't even have to necessarily like post in a self promo channel. Like your name is just going to be well known. Yeah, known Sari mods Suiji. That's how he got his records. Because he mods here and asked me to add the pink bob-omb sound alert here.
That's where I know Suiji from.
Yeah, it sounded familiar. So we're talking a bit now like about speedrunning, like the community, and When it comes to that, what state would you say that speedrunning is in right now, community-wise? Get into the more hard-hitting shit.
I don't know. I hate saying I don't know to these questions.
I get that, yeah.
It's hard to say because
It's a
I
hard
think
question.
community keeps going in waves.
Right.
Where it's like, oh yeah, you had the era where like, obviously like Siglimic was the biggest runner, and then the community was like barely around. And
Right.
then it's like, okay, now you're getting into like Cheese and Simply and Punkay kind of,
Era.
taking over, I'll say.
Right.
And then there being like a lot of like chatters around that point that were always in between all three of them. And then in the time, like, I've seen people come and go, and like I've enjoyed time periods in the community like more than others, I guess.
Right.
But it's subjective
Yeah.
to an extent, because it's like, yeah, the friends that I made years ago are, that's not what I meant to do. Maybe they're not around anymore.
Right.
And that's just how it goes.
Right. So you have like, I find for myself too, especially like I've had this nostalgia with like when I first started streaming or first started getting community, and there's like that group of people, like if you know someone from your first few years speedrunning or streaming, you're always going to have like a spot in your heart for them, kind of like Koleb that I just like mentioned. So like I assume then, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
It's so easy to just have, like, it's hard not to be biased in some
100%,
senses, where it's like,
yeah.
oh yeah, I miss those days.
Yeah,
when, like,
it's so
like I
rose-colored.
mentioned, SGDQ 18. Where it was awesome having like the whole community at GDQ and hanging out doing this like 20-person relay.
Right.
It was awesome. But we're like 7 years past that at this point.
Wow. Yeah, that is actually kind of wild to think about. But yeah, 100%, like obviously you're gonna like have like times you favor in the community where it's like you were having fun. Like when I first got into the community and like interacting with people, Elisa made like this practice server that we were living in, like we were being paid to like clock into those voice calls. And I do like, I don't know, there's like definitely a lot of, and I think we've talked a little bit about this before, like there's some shit that went on around that time that, I don't look on fondly. A certain weird guy at that time. But
Yeah.
like I definitely like that's where I met Radu and Jake, like some of my best friends now. Joel Biden Gaming, shout out to it. But like it's really cool thinking about those times, and it's like I don't know if speedrunning was like at a height or anything at that point. Like I just remember Liam coming back and stuff, but I definitely look to that time and go, I had a lot of fun, like hanging out with my friends, learning 70 Star. That was cool, and like that's definitely a bias because it's not like there was a really cool thing going on summer 2022. It was just, yeah, I was yapping with my friends, and it was cool.
Yeah, like I talk about like 2018, I'm gonna say early days at this point of
Right.
Mario, even if it's not that early.
Yeah, I think
but,
that's
like,
fair in context of like COVID.
Yeah, pre-COVID era.
Yeah, exactly.
But I also very much remember like COVID times, and I used to live in calls with, who was it? So it was like Ghost Boy, it was Callie, it was Curry in the house, and
Damn.
Genix.
Yeah.
We would all live in calls together,
Wow.
and we would do stupid shit. Like we would play bingo. We would watch like the All Ideas videos and try to copy random strats that we saw.
Yeah.
Like we would do just random bullshit. And it was
Just anything the past time.
Always a good time.
Yeah, that is awesome. Something I've thought is like really cool is like a post-COVID enter of the community. Yeah, you live with one of those people. It's crazy. And then someone we have on later this week lives with another one of those people.
Yep.
But yeah, like, oh my God, I'm so scared. Please. Okay. I was on an actual run and then I missed a cycle in Fire State because I do so much better when I just get so lost in the sauce of yapping that I'm not thinking about Mario. It's so
Oh yeah.
crazy.
If you think too much, it's over.
Yes, 100%. But yeah, like being someone who's like newer to the community, it's really funny, like meeting so many people in different ways and then finding out they've known each other for like 10 years. Like something I remember being funny is like Nader Beans, right? Who like just is like a ghost of a person at this point for most people. Finding out like he interacted with like Sweegie way back like in the early days, or that like I think Seabeard and Sweegie also knew each other because I think Seabeard had like a Minecraft stream that Suigi joined or something. And it's like, these are just, it's such a Mad Libs of like Mario people. And it's really interesting knowing like how way back so many of these people go, even if you wouldn't like necessarily think it initially. Yeah, he's not dead. He's just, he'll be back. He's going to de-rest and he's going to stream again. Hater Beans, yep. When it comes to speedrunning though, I guess, obviously like we kind of agreed on like, it could be varying what like the state of it now is or what the state of it ever is with the nostalgia and the rose colored lens we'll have based on who we interact with. There's definitely like pocketed points of this community, but based on like recent events, I guess, and we'll talk more about that in a second. Are you scared for the future of speedrunning?
I have always been scared for the future of speedrunning.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, with the context of like the stuff that went on, you know, earlier this year that we'll get into.
Right.
I honestly, that has nothing to do with it. I am very confident overall in, you know,
the
like
community.
Live events coming back.
I agree.
Eventually.
It'll happen
or like, you know, people
in a good way.
Places to come back. Like,
yep.
That's no doubt in my mind. Something will rise from the ashes and be the thing that everyone rallies behind.
Right.
And even if it doesn't, then there's always been, you know, constant tournaments by tons of the, I'm going to say smaller, and I don't mean that in a
I get what you mean.
derogatory way.
There's a lot of like grassroots kind of stuff that's always being organized.
They're always happening. And so like, even if like a gigantic event never happens, there's always going to be the grassroots stuff that's always going to be taking place.
100%.
So,
yeah, and even like
sense,
people are going to GDQ this year, for example, like people find a way to like hang out.
I'm super excited for GDQ this time around.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I haven't enjoyed my last like 4 GDQs.
Yeah, but like this one will be cool because it's like so many Mario people. I'm almost considering it, even though like my best friend's getting married this summer, and there's a I'm maid of honor. There's a bachelorette in Vegas. The wedding's in Hawaii, and it's like, oh yeah, fuck my bank account. Like obviously I'm gonna do it,
so
but
much
it's like
travel.
so much, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? Let's squeeze a Minneapolis in there. Like hell no, but I'm definitely feeling like the FOMO a little, where I'm like.
But yeah, I feel like
Callie, by the way.
People are just kind of trying to figure out where to go next because like everyone wants to hang out, and you know, obviously GDQ has continued to stick around, so I think people are just kind of naturally migrating back to it, just because it's like, okay, do I really want to go that long without hanging out with my friends? And the answer is no. Everyone wants to hang out.
Yeah, 100%. Also, that's crazy, Mitzi. I didn't know that Beeve did Paper Mario. Totally off topic. I just like glanced at that and saw that that's how like they met, Mitzi and Beeve.
Yeah, it's funny how that works.
Right. But yeah, I 100%
like,
agree with that.
In terms of events, I'm not concerned. In terms of like, you know, people are concerned about like, oh, Suigi has 5 out of 5, the game's dead, and I'm like, no, you're just dumb.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
The game is not gonna die.
The game's not dying.
You know, the world records, you know, pretty fucking good. Like the world records are all beatable.
Yeah.
They've always been beatable. They will continue to be beatable for the rest of time.
Yeah, and it's not to say they're not good. It's just the game's not gonna die because of them. Like if something like we were talking about before, Super Mario Bros. If people are still getting world records there, like, girl, we are fine. Like, someone will get another record.
Even when eventually, like, I'm assuming it's gonna be Nifsky. As soon as he matches the task, like,
there'll be a new
thread.
Right, yeah.
Like, people are gonna be interested in the game, like, moving forward. And then it's never just like, you know, the main categories, right? Like we have, you know, Suigi 5 out of 5, but what about like, any of the other category extensions?
Right.
What about, you know, ROM hacks? What about
ROM hacks? Yeah, ROM hacks. Like Iron Mario has been so interesting. Like watching people like chase down stuff. I heard someone recently like beat hardcore for the first time. It's like,
oh yeah,
there's always interest.
Awesome.
Yeah, like even in something, hell yeah. Like even in something like that, people had like varying opinions on it, obviously, but like it garnered a lot of attention. Like Lazy Drink, who I mentioned before, like just got partnered, and I would assume a large part of it had to do with the viewership from Iron Mario, which is like very cool.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be like the first case of that too. Like I'm sure like obviously he had the viewership before that as well, but I'm sure that was a significant part of it, which is insane.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, even
interest
if,
is
like,
there.
Like I'm sure not everyone likes Iron Mario. In fact, I know that not everyone
yeah,
likes Iron
exactly.
Mario.
I know that about.
Or like, I know that not everyone enjoys all of those things, but I think regardless, I think it's still good for, and while that's not strictly speedrunning, I think it's very much adjacent enough where like people recognize it. And it's like you're
Yeah.
getting there's continued there's continued interest in this game. And it's
Yes.
not gonna go away.
Yeah, and I think basically like as long as that interest is there and there's still like people putting in efforts to host events or move like us forward within like content and like speedrunning content specifically, like the community is probably like it's very fair to be worried for it, I guess, especially with like, how much shit happened recently. But like
Yeah.
the community's not going anywhere. And as long as the interest is there, like there's still community to be had from it kind of thing. If that's fair to say.
Yeah, for sure. I think, I know a lot of people are worried because they saw everything explode and they're like, oh my gosh, like,
Right? It's the end of
and
times.
maybe didn't know all the context and we're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
like,
which I'm very
greedy
happy that you added a lot.
speedrunners, want the best and everything needs to be perfect. And
Yeah, like these greedy
not
fucks.
true.
Exactly. And yeah, I think you added a lot of very necessary context. We've talked about this a bit on my stream before, and we're gonna get into this like more specifically now, but basically a doc went out one day of Milo, who you were mentioning earlier, you worked with him from the beginning. You were there at the very like first talks of like SGDQ 2018, I believe, or 2017 maybe, that you said 2018, that like they were like, what if we did a speedrunning organization? We called it, GSA, and then what if we ran Pace? You were there from the beginning. And we found out that there was some interesting stuff going on. Obviously, like there was a lot of people who had varying opinions on the 24/7 channels, and that kind of hit ahead when Callie went out and like tweeted what he did, which I think was also very necessary because what he tweeted was what everyone was saying behind closed doors, and it was like a matter of time before action was taken. For like basically the 24/7 channels would take up the entirety of the Mario directory, which is really bad when it comes to discoverability. We're talking about of like if you're a new streamer and you go into Mario, it's really easy to have viewership. Not so much when every other like top Mario runner has a 24/7 channel that is destroying like the directory in the sense of you stop scrolling at some point because you just think everything is just botted. But no, there's more people, there's new up and comers that are down there, and that kind of started a conversation. And then from that we kind of learned some more information about the way GSA was being ran. There was like a few grievances you rightfully had while like running tech for them. And as a commentator myself, I found out that I was being shortchanged of my pay, as well as many others found out that. I've actually found out originally because Seabeard DM'd me and went, "You think Milo's shortchanging us?" And I went, "Oh yeah, probably." Like I haven't thought to look into it. And then one day I was about to go to bed and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take my last paycheck I got from GSA. I'm gonna run the numbers, and the math didn't add up based on what we were told we were getting paid. And I was like, huh, interesting, right? And then, it got brought up in a few practice servers until it got brought up to Milo directly. And then instead of saying, hey, you guys, my bad that, this happened, it was, oh, well, no, this is actually why. This is why you've been shortchanged. It's because we're covering fees. And we didn't even learn that directly. We learned that through word of mouth from other people who were told that, right? And there was never accountability. There was just, oh, well, this is why I did this bad choice or whatever, right? And it turned into a doc that went out saying, I'm not running Pace anymore. And the original narrative very much came off like, and it's your fault. Like, you guys ran Pace to the ground. Thank you to those who did care. We're going to still run other events. But Pace is dead now, right? And that's kind of what happened. And that's where it was, where a lot of people were like, oh my God, this is so sad that, stupid sweaty gamer losers ruined Pace. Is kind of like what the narrative was for the first few hours until Artemis, kind of was like, you know what, like, this is the wrong narrative to be painted of this. Like, there's people who are shortchanged. There's people who are wronged in this, and their side isn't being rightfully shown. And Artemis did something very brave in coming forward about it. And obviously, it's like a very spooky thing to do that, to say, yo, here's what's actually up. This is a very like contentious thing. Everyone's talking about it right now. I'm gonna add my 2 cents. And when all of that kind of like went down, there was like also 17 future dramas of, oh yeah, what's the next event gonna be, right? There was, oh yeah, why don't we do this event? And then like the person who's running it starts screaming at everyone, what if we do this event? But then people aren't like, you know, cool with the people who are running it. And there's just like so many things that have happened. And did you feel overwhelmed, I guess, when everything was finally like building up to the point that it got to?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so much.
Oh my God, yeah. I was
'Cause
overwhelmed. We were all,
I had I had my own thoughts about like, what was going on and like my own personal stuff.
right.
Um that were like, hey, like I don't like these things. But, then after like kind of talking to other people and like, really what
Right.
happened was I got upset enough. And that's usually how these things happen. I get
Yeah.
mad enough. And then I'm like, okay, uh
What am I
and
gonna do?
then yeah, what am I gonna do? And in that case, like, I was mad enough, whatever. But then Callie got mad enough about the 24/7 streams, and that kicked it all off. And then it's like, okay, I don't like the responses here, and other people are bringing up other fair issues.
That are getting minimized.
Yeah, where it's like, I want to make sure everything is covered, right? So my entire perspective of this was I need to go talk to basically everyone I can
Yeah.
and figure out what do you all think? What's going on?
Yeah.
And then it all kind of came to what happened was it was me, and I don't want to name anyone else that was involved just because I don't know if they want to be involved.
Yeah.
And
The
I'm
one
happy
person I
taking
know,
all of the blame.
right. The one person I know like is cool with like knowing or like being like spoken about is Seabeard, because like me and him have been pretty public about it, I would say. So like I know
Yeah,
he's
I mean-
good, but besides that, yeah. I think that's valid.
Yeah, so like it was two I talked to a little bit about like getting some of the information, just like what happened
Mhm.
for that, and I just heard lots of other things. So I was trying to get like a good consistent list of like things I want to bring up.
Right.
And then there ultimately ended up being a call. It was like Milo and I, and then more people I don't want to say specifically
Right.
without
Yeah.
knowing if they want to be mentioned.
If they want to be talking,
Um, Yeah, and it was basically like, hey, why
True
did
point.
this happen? Why did this happen?
Mhm.
So on and so forth. And that's how like we got all the information. Like the reason you were shortchanged was because of the fees, and,
Right.
because of conversion fees and whatever. And
Yeah.
you know, and like we got his perspective right, and it's difficult. It was so difficult to do because
There's also a
in
lot of
that
like
call-
emotional, like personal emotions that it sounds like he put into them as well. Like where he was
Yeah, I mean,
offended that his friends were coming at him rather than like being called up for like, doing bad stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, like obviously I was I wish I was more level-headed, but I'm very
It's-
passionate about
Yeah, it's something that you're passionate
and,
about.
I think, he was very passionate about it as well, which is, at least was nice to see, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
okay,
it's
cool.
reassuring. At least he cares, kind of vibe.
But I had all these questions answered, and I didn't feel like a lot of them were fair.
Right.
But ultimately, like I know I'm biased in this situation entirely. Like I have many opinions. I know
Yeah.
personally I didn't like many of the answers, and I could go on and on and on about all of them.
Right.
But the document I wrote very specifically was to be very emotionless.
Mhm.
It was pretty much, hey, these are the questions people had. Here are the answers.
Yeah, exactly.
Do what
You
you want
wanted
with that
to like
information.
kind of not have that personal bias within it, even though you definitely were very like, obviously outside of that doc, you had very strong opinions on what was going on.
Yeah, and like I think that's something that I was very frustrated because it was very. I feel like he has made it clear that it was like he feels like he was just very attacked, and how like he hates that it had to be this public or anything.
Right.
I'm like, okay, but I intentionally did it this way to make it not that public. I could
Yeah.
have just made a big rant document and posted it on Twitter and
Mhm.
rallied the troops that way.
Yeah. Got people
But
angry.
what I did was I was like, hey, I'm gonna talk to the people that had legitimate questions and concerns, and some of them are more angry than others, of course.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
and I want to bring them up. Like, hey, what happened?
Yeah.
I want to give you a chance before I say anything about this, like on Twitter, because that's where it's gonna get the most attention.
Yeah, exactly. Like you wanted
So
everyone's perspective, and you also wanted to make sure like those voices were heard and not like trumped over because he was like, oh well, I'm sad, kind of vibe.
yeah, like I wanted to make sure everything was heard and addressed, and I did my best that I could. I made that document, and I feel like, unfortunately, I don't. I think it was the right decision, but I
Right.
also feel like it would have been more helpful if I was more emotion filled when writing it,
Right.
because
I
I
get
feel
that.
like a lot of people see it and then they don't realize how, I'm gonna say, bad some of it was.
Yes. Because it was like you wanted your like to like as much as you could like not emotionally charge people, but there are things about it that are I guess worthy of that. So it's like hard to like balance that kind of vibe.
Yeah, where it's like, the one that's been the most talked about, I guess, is Suiji's entire situation.
Oh yeah, Suiji getting shortchanged after being told like, hey, yeah, you had a panic attack at pace, so like you're not gonna, you know, if you miss a day, don't worry, is what he was told was don't worry. And so he goes, okay, misses a day. He gets the first live 135. Everyone cheers and applauds. There's fan art made of it, and then. You know, December comes around when people are getting paid out, comms gets paid out, and the runners get paid out. And Suiji goes, where is a day's worth of my pay? And Milo goes, oh, well, you didn't show up one of the days. I don't know why you thought that when I said it's all good, I meant the money, because obviously I didn't. I meant that, like, it's all good. You don't have to run, but I'm still going to take this money. It's like, what? Like, that
Yeah,
kind of thing is insane. Like, how?
yeah, and like all of the messages are public now because of
Suiji.
Suiji posting them. So like I don't know, reading them, it felt, you know, I had my own thoughts about the entire situation because basically it was like Suiji misinterpreted it, and to an extent, I can understand the position of Milo where it's like, hey, I'm paying you to play every single day, right?
Right.
And if you're not there, you are the biggest like name in this game right now. Yeah, obviously, like Simply is bigger as a streamer, but like as a,
Yeah,
the
as
best
an
speedrunner, it's definitely Suiji.
yeah, like the speedrunner awards, right? Like even he was there.
Yeah, so like I understand from the context of like absolutely you want to make sure like all of your content or like the people you're paying to provide the content are there, and Suiji is a big part of that. And if
Right.
he's not there, then you're losing like viewers more or less. So I
Yeah.
understand the thought process
For
to an
sure.
extent.
Yeah.
It's the execution of everything where, you know, and like the circumstances around it. And that's what made it so annoying, where it's like, okay, this rule of this much of a prize pool was like, because it was like a full third of it rather than like $50 or whatever it was initially.
Right.
And the third of the prize pool was made like I think it was like 8 p.m. after day one.
Right.
Like it wasn't even before
It
the
wasn't
competition.
organized correct. Yeah.
And there was like no, you know, no digital way to prove that everyone and
Did that.
you know, going afterward and reading all the DMs afterward when he got paid, it did not seem like
Felt very
Yeah,
gaslighty, manipulative.
yes, it very much felt like Milo was gaslighting.
Yeah, it didn't feel
Suiji to
like
be
he was being a good
yeah,
guy.
this is what I said, right? This
Yeah,
is, like,
and keep in
this
mind,
is what I
Suji's a
meant. You should have just
19-year-old
understood.
kid. It's like, oh my god, because I think that's another thing people forget is like, he's a child, not a child, but like he's a teenager, you know. And this like grown man is like, oh yeah, well no, that's not how it works, buddy. Welcome to showbiz. And it's like, oh my god, in these screenshots. But yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so it just that entire situation is frustrating because it's like, okay, this is, I feel like this shows that the rules were not clear enough,
Right.
and like if that was the rule like before the event started, no one would. I don't think anyone would really have a gigantic issue with it. I think it's
Right.
an excessive amount of money, but if everyone agreed to it before the event, probably wouldn't have been a problem.
Yeah, but like not even everyone agreed to it. Like 2 people agreed, and I think the exact thing was whoever replies first gets free lunch. Which, reading that as someone who's not running like behind the scenes on this stuff, like I was doing comms. I never did comms on the live events because I just didn't show up. Like he would invite me to them, and I would say, "Oh, sorry, I'm like gonna pass because I'm not gonna be there." But like I was like, what do you mean free lunch? Are they not being fed? Like what do you mean you're not? That not
Yeah.
provided? And the fact
And
that
gets
it was
more
here's
into, like
yeah, like I guess
that
like
gets more
the
into,
amount of
like,
money they have.
bad event running.
Yes,
where it's like the idea was like the idea behind that was that a lot of people would do the no reset and then immediately fuck off.
Yeah, 100%. And they're
uh,
like,
and
well,
that sucks for the stream because then like everyone finishes their run and then you have no content.
yeah,
And that does suck. So the idea was that if you stayed, then you would get like your lunch paid for, which makes sense. I understand the concept. But
yeah.
again,
It
it's like
sounds awful out of context where it's
from
like,
from
what?
like event runner's standpoint, like you would probably provide these people that are providing you the content like lunch. Lunch is not that expensive.
Right. Exactly. And I guess there is like this part of it, obviously, where it's like, yeah, well, they were just aiming to make a really cool like event and like in whatever way they could. So like obviously there's things that like they wouldn't pay for, but like it's hard to like it's just hard to like hear it and it's like, yeah, well, this is like a high profile event in the speedrunning community and like how is like food not getting paid for. Also, I am -3 on best pace ever at TTC and like golden HFC, and I didn't notice I was best pace ever in SL, and like I looked over mid yap and I was like, oh my god, oh my god. So my apologies if I
this.
like start shutting up. Yeah, thank you. But I still want to like talk about this. Obviously, how did it feel being like in this conversation, both like as someone who's like kind of like spearheading the charge of like, hey, here's like a lot of people who also, you know, have these like problems, and like here's me speaking out for them in an unbiased way as possible. But also, I'm a part of this organization. I'm their most recent hire. Like, how did that feel? I guess like having both of those identities kind of like clash.
It sucks so much.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be that person. I
Right.
I never like I will be that person for
If you
anyone
need to be. Yeah.
if I need to be. But I
you
don't
don't
think
want
anyone like enjoys
Being that person.
being on that person, right? Because there is, you know, potential backlash, right? Like,
Yep.
you know, not that like and I was in this situation, I was pretty confident in everything, but it sucks because you know what is the backlash going to look like, and are people going to start hating me because I killed Pace?
Right.
Which
Yeah.
is
That's
what I say nowadays. I say that I killed Pace.
Yeah.
I think it's funny.
It is
It's
a
also-
funny string of words.
It's like it's funny, but it's also just me coping because
Because you were scared that it felt that way.
it's yeah it
Still feels that way.
because like you know I talk about Pace and I'm like, oh yeah, that was great, and a lot of things like Pace. I'm crying. Pace is like really cool,
Right.
but it's done and because of me and everything that happened. But also, I say it was me, but also if things were done differently, I wouldn't have had to feel like I had to make this.
Yeah, exactly. Like it wasn't your fault, but you like felt like it was because you were the one who ended up like kind of like out like on Twitter being like, hey guys, this is what's going on right now. Like he's not making it sound like this is what's happening, but this is what's truly happening. And it almost frames you as if you're the bad guy, but he already canceled Pace at that point. It just like in your brain, you're kind of like, yeah, no, I'm bad guy because, you know, Pace got
Well,
canceled,
yeah,
but it's hard
yeah.
to like
Like
separate that.
I knew that Pace was going to be canceled, I guess,
Right.
because after the call, we got through. It was like a 4-hour call.
Mhm.
It was very long to make sure that we covered everything. And at the end of it, he was like, "Hey, well, I appreciate you bringing everything up. Like, appreciate that. But to be honest, I don't feel like
doing
uh,
this.
I have zero motivation to continue making Pace. So I'm going to make an announcement soon to say I'm done with it."
Right.
So I knew, you know,
In advance that it was
after that
over.
call, like days before, and it was just like, and that means I knew it was in direct relation to this call that like pushed it over the edge.
Right. So it was hard to not like be like, okay, well, what did I say that like caused this action?
Yeah, so it was, you know, I don't know. I have a lot of anxiety in general, and especially over all of that. But
Right.
I think overall, you know, if we're talking about like you know, reputation, I guess my reputation was not messed with at all.
Right. which is awesome. I just literally had to like go
Ali
into.
said
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
his responses and actions kill pace.
Exactly.
Nothing I did.
Yeah.
So
It's not something anyone else did. Sorry, I had to go into Mario Cam just now to look at which star I had already grabbed because I'm so nervous that I forgot. I'm on best pace ever, and I'm probably going to be PB pacing to bits. I'm throwing up. That's so funny. In my head, I was like, it'd be cool if someone PBs during one of these. But I was like, surely it won't be me. Hi,
That was fun,
SRC.
alright.
My bad. This is the one. You know what? It's an honor. It is. This is fun that this is like the yab sesh we were having during the PB run. All right, let me see here. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm on like minus 27 best pace ever right now.
I'm ready to lose this race.
It's okay. We could definitely still talk a little more. Maybe, if anything, we could unfortunately do 16 star or something.
I'm fine with
To
keeping
keep. Yeah.
up. Stopped? Okay. Yeah, that entire situation just, you know, I have lots of individual thoughts about it, like
Right.
the fees, right? Where it's like, okay, why didn't you communicate these fees? Why is there so many fees?
Yeah. Why
did you
didn't
not,
we
like-
know? Why weren't we told like an adjusted price?
Yeah, it could have been like an adjusted price. Why did you not have a USD bank account when you do business primarily in the US?
Right.
So you convert everything from USD to Canadian, and then you go from CAD back to USD. Just you're racking up fees, and the only one
And then
profiting there
blaming
is
the
bank.
others. Yeah. And it's like, why do I have to pay for that?
Like, why is that anyone else's problem?
Exactly.
Fees are.
Yeah. All right, I'm going into throws. Throwing up in my mind. Like, holy shit. Oh boy. Oh, fuck. Okay, I missed, but it's fine because I have so much stupid time right now. Oh my god. Oh my god, that misses too, but it's okay. I just have to get it this next one. That's a 57? Holy shit!
Congrats.
Thank you. I've been working for 57 for months, and I get it during the Milo hate convo, dude. Oh my god. Oh my god. Jesus Christ. Yo, Ethan. Holy shit. You know what? I'm glad it happened right now. That is so fun. It would have been funny if I got the PB and still lost.
I was cooking for a while.
You
and
were.
then,
I was behind you on best pace ever. And like, yes.
yeah, TTC sucks.
Oh my god, I have a 57. Holy shit. Wow, that's cool. I'm happy. Oh my god. So sorry to like deter our like very good combo by like
That's alright.
that run. Oh my god. I could have like low 57 as well, but I missed 2 or 3 throws. Because I was shitting myself. But honestly, with minute barriers, that's how it has to be. You need to like have that wiggle room for sure. So that like you can shit the bed and still be okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. Where were we? So sorry. But yeah, no, 100% like, yeah, it's very odd to like, thank you for the 510 bits. I appreciate it. To like, I don't know, make, you know, people cover their own fees. Like I heard that was like, you know, just a standard business practice, but it's like, why weren't you standard business practicing telling us as well? Like, it's odd. All of it's like kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, even if it was just like, hey, like you're getting paid a certain amount, but like there's going to be fees taken out of it. Just any of that communication around it, like would have been awesome, right?
Right.
Where it's like, hey, even if it's, you're taking the fees out, just tell us, not just, tell us a number and then pay us and then like, I guess hope we never notice.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what it felt like to me, at least, when hearing it all.
I feel like sweeping
okay,
it under the rug for sure.
Yeah, because he talks about it like it was completely normal and it was just fine that he did that and it was completely normal. And it's like, okay, but you didn't say that you were doing that.
Yeah. Which is the problem. Like, it was the transparency more than it was like, because if that was told to us, then okay, but it wasn't. And then we were just being shortchanged for God knows how long. Because I only calculated my most recent paychecks. It felt a little lower than it should have been. And then,
I mean, like, some of the people just, like, the money is nice to get it, right? But it's all for the love of the community and the game in general.
Exactly. And that's what so many people like, said on it, too, which is true.
You get paid for it, and it's like, okay, that's
it's
cool.
A plus.
And a lot of people just didn't check because who cares?
Yeah, because like it's cool. Yeah, and I guess the problem that I personally have with it, because there were a lot of comments who were going like, it's just fun. I would do it for free, and it's like, yeah, me too, but we weren't doing it for free, and then we were lied to about it, which is like, okay, if we're getting lied to about this, what else is being lied about? Where's the transparency start? Like, where does the truth start? And I think that's what I had a problem with, was I had already heard some like shady things. And then on top of that, having that, oh my God.
I'm finishing this.
That's okay. On top of that, having that experience of like, oh, and now we're getting shortchanged. And I was like, I don't comfortably want to work with this person again because of that, which is really unfortunate, because GSA is probably like one of like the big highlights, I would say, and like things I've done on stream so far. I was like, I think one of the first, I mean, you would probably know this since you've been there from the beginning. I think I was one of the first girls doing comms for Mario. Maybe.
Probably. Elisa did some.
Yeah, I think me and Elisa had like the first like weekend was like our, like both of us had the same first weekend, but like I was on like the morning shift or whatever shit or whatever. And I was like on front page with Markinator because, and the one thing about Mario is you tell a story from 2 years ago and it's going to age like milk. But yeah, like there was like 11,000 people. It was really awesome. And it's like something I really look forward or like look on fondly. And I'm sure like you still look on those things fondly of like interacting with Milo and co like early on. And it's hard when, kind of like something like what happened recently happens, because it's not like anyone wants to be angry at Milo or wants to be angry at Pace, which is a really cool event. Like, it's not like we wanted it to go wrong. It just did. And like, I don't know. I don't think it's worth like being silent about when it's like, oh yeah, well, we could say this event, because no, it's no longer what you thought it was, because people are getting wronged. And something that's like so community serving shouldn't feel that way. And also, get ready, because I'm going to do the stupidest thing I do for all my PBs.
Thank you so much for playing my game.
Hi, Von Jim. I say hi to Von Jim at the end of all of my PBs. I can't remember the last time he verified one of my runs, but I always do it because he was the one who first told me to start submitting. And because I was like on MU, like on my like broken ass Usamune, or like, yeah, I did Usamune save stated runs on Mac, which I used OpenMU for, which I'm sure you might maybe know about. Yeah. Usually I have to explain what it is, but I was like, now you've been in this for a while. You probably know exactly what the hell I'm talking about. The amount of times I've had people reach out to me and go, yo, I'm out of town right now and all I have is my laptop. What was that thing you used to emulate on, that stupid piece of shit that didn't have music or anything? And I was like, that was OpenMU. But then I like got into console and I was like, I'm not going to submit till I have a 17. And Von Jim was like, nope. Wrong, start submitting now. And then I got like 25 seconds worth of PBs in a day, like 2 PBs back to back, and I was like, all right, I'm saying hi to Von Jim every bot now, and I still do it.